who's here. We have a couple of people who are supposed to show up in the next few minutes. Hopefully that comes through. And then we will have our 2 speeches. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Zack Varghese. Am I pronouncing your last name correctly?
Yeah.
All right, Zack Varghese.
So before I start my speech, please start the timer just to let you know. I want to give a short, medium-length biography of a man I've been learning about. His name's Benny. And Benny was a boy that was born as the youngest child in a family of 8. You know, the baby of the family. Benny wasn't born recently. In fact, he was born in 1894. Benny was born to 2 former slaves. Benny was born during the nadir of race relations in America. Now, what the nadir of race relations is in America is the period between Reconstruction and the early 1900s. That means this is the period when black people were stripped of all their rights that they were given to by the Reconstruction. And in the place of rights, they were given segregation and racism. So Benny was born into a horrible time. But Benny realized that education is so important in that time period. Benny felt that when he was attending school, he was excelling. And the teachers actually noticed it as well. Benny excelled in school and eventually went to high school. Benny graduated as a valedictorian of his high school. Now, Benny's dad was a traditional dad of the 1800s. Whether black or white, most fathers felt it was a waste for men to continue on in education. Benny's dad thought, why don't you just join the farm like all your other brothers and sisters? That's where we as a family can grow in monetary wealth. But Benny went on to college. Benny went to classrooms that were integrated. Benny competed with white people around him. Benny saw that he was excelling. And Benny went on to a doctorate in religious studies. He graduated, and Benny became the president of Morehouse College for a 15 to 16 year long span. Most people considered this span of time for Morehouse College as the most critical time of their history, because it went from segregation and racism into the civil rights movement and passed, and it grew into the historic figure that Morehouse College is today. Benny really strived to be a figure that was bringing in people, was integrating people, and was not only integrating, but causing people to excel in integration. Benny wanted to start a program in Morehouse College that helped people get an education. They funded dozens, if not hundreds of people to get a further education so that they can really contribute to the American society. Benny also wanted to increase the awareness of racial relations, racial tensions in America. And Benny went internationally to gain knowledge on how we can battle this problem of racism, this difference in color, and how it shouldn't bar anyone from excelling. Benny spoke with Mahatma Gandhi. Benny learned about the concept of nonviolence. Benny used that concept of nonviolence in his sermons and uplifted the students that were listening to him and revitalized them to really seek success, not through violent matters, not through darkness, but through light, through not evil, but good. Seek out the well-being of others. Benny really believed when he read the Bible what Jesus said when he said, feed the hungry, clothe the naked, be good to your neighbor. Benny believed that, and he practiced it. He was a perfect example of that, and he taught it to many people. Now, if you're a history buff, you might know who Benny is, just on that description. Most likely, like me, you don't remember his name, even though you were probably taught about Benny in high school, in middle school, in elementary school, in fact. Benny's real name is Benjamin E. Mays. The reason why you should know that name is because of one of his mentees. During that mentorship program where he raised up people to gain an education, one of the first people and one of the most prominent, one of the most listening mentees, the one that sat in the front pew, always listened, was a man called Martin Luther King. Martin Luther King listened very intently to every single word Benny used and made his life goal of nonviolent civil rights from those sermons and took that to action. Benjamin Mays is a giant of civil rights. And Martin Luther King is a man that stands on his shoulders. Martin Luther King realized that Benjamin Mays was a very, very educated man, and he sought to gain that knowledge himself by listening to his sermons. Benjamin Mays was excited to see a man like Martin Luther King really wanting to gain this knowledge, and thought of him as a son, and Martin thought of him as a father. So Martin saw a mentor, a father figure, out of Benjamin. And like that, many people that make waves in our society have mentors. Michael Jackson, Prince, even civil rights people like Martin Luther King, Rosa Parks, any famous person, even Aristotle, have mentors that they can attribute some of their success to. I've heard a very common phrase multiple times going through college and looking at entrepreneurship as a possibility. And that phrase is self-made man. A lot of people strive to be self-made men. A lot of women seek to be self-made women. I'm going to tell you, there's not a single person, past, present, or future, that has ever accurately claimed that they were a self-made person. You can say you funded everything that you have achieved with your own money. I'll give you that. But I'm not going to say that you did it on your own. In fact, I don't believe anyone has accomplished anything without having the inspiration from a person before them. When it says in my title, we stand on the shoulders of giants, we need to realize that there's men and women before us that have paved the way for us to succeed. We need to recognize that and then move. Continue that path. Be trailblazers, but recognize the trail that's been blazed before us. Seek out mentorship. There's people in this world that when you see your goal, let's say you want to be a CEO of a company, doing it on your own and not asking for advice, not seeking help, is going to be so much harder than asking the people around you who are willing to help, that have a little bit more knowledge. This is my advice to you. And if you look or you hear this speech and you feel like you already have that mentor, that you already have that person in your life that is helping you along with this path, or you don't need a mentor, I don't care what Zack says, I'm going to make it on my own, I'll give you that right. But this speech is going to be even more important for you. Because you might not be the Martin Luther King in this story, but you can definitely be the Benjamin in this story. You can inspire a generation. You can cause people to look at you and see inspiration, that they can achieve their dreams by looking at you and seeing you achieve yours. There's a purpose for us to have a mentorship program. And that's to give out the skills that we've learned. I've fell on my face dozens of times on this stage, but I got up and I did it again. And I did it again, and I did it again. I realized what works. I realized what doesn't. And I'm here today learning those lessons. And it's the same thing with all experienced Toastmasters. It's the same thing with all experienced people. I urge you, ask your Toastmaster, your fellow Toastmasters, what they've learned in this club. And you'll find being a better speaker for it is that much more easier. And you being on your first speech to your 50-something speech doesn't have to be a difficult road of failures like I did. Instead, you can learn from the lessons of others and become an amazing speaker, amazing communicator in general, by just asking for a helping hand. Thank you.
All right, take a couple of seconds here, about 30 seconds, to write your feedback on the allocated spot on your slips, and then pass them to the center.
I'll let Preciosa come up here and give us her speech on Makeup 101.
Welcome, class! So last week we were touching up on martial arts with Tyler Burnett, and now we will be learning another set of techniques that start with the letter M, makeup. So there's lots of different ways people can do makeup. Most people have a lot of steps. Newer beginner sets have less steps. I consider myself an intermediate level on makeup. I'm not a full-on beauty guru, but I do my best to try to not look like a naked mole rat every day. Now, before I actually do my makeup, what I like to do is to moisturize my face and to get it primed and ready so that all the germs and bacteria are away and I can get my face ready to get beat. Now, I start off with foundation first, and normally you'd want to have your foundation in the same shade, not as your face, but as your neck. So that when you fully blend it, it won't look so like washed out, or it won't look like you had like a bad spray tan. It will blend evenly and it'll look cohesive. And after I use foundation, I like to go ahead and start using my contour and blush. Now, contour is using shadows and light to make an effect of like you having a different face than you normally do. Like most girls use contour and highlight to make a heart-shaped face because that's what the desired face shape is usually mostly. So since I have a rounder face than a heart-shaped face, I will use bronzer over here to make shadows that highlight my cheekbones essentially. And then on top of my bronzer, I would use blush, and I would apply blush on the apples of my cheeks. If you're confused, smile, and then use your fingers in this, and then touch this part of your cheek. These right here are the apples of your cheeks, and that's where you would mostly apply your blush. On top of your contour and your blush, you would apply highlight. And the highlight is there to emphasize on the upper region of your cheekbones. And I like highlight not to really accentuate, but because it looks really shiny and fancy. And after I do foundation and contour, I like to go ahead and do my eye makeup. First, I will apply eyeshadow. Now, I would use at least 4 shades of eyeshadow, one for your lids, one for the inner corner of your eye, one for the crease, and one for the upper region of your crease in between your eyelids and your eyebrows. Now, you would think, why not just use one shade? Because using multiple shades of eyebrows not only makes you look like you have talent, even when not really, you're just following a YouTube tutorial, it also adds depth to your eyes and makes them look bigger. Now, the whole point of eye makeup is to make your eyes look bigger and to make them look less dull and less tired. After I would apply my eyeshadow, I would apply eyeliner. Now, this is the step that usually takes about 30 to 40 minutes of my time because they have to be even or else the world is going to end, okay? They have to be even, no matter what kind of eyeliner you want to use. Even if it's just like one line to make your eyes not look so small, or if you want to use a full-on wing tip to showcase your abilities and talents, they have to be even or else there's just something wrong with you. And after I spend 40 to 50 hours of my time on eyeliner, I will go ahead and apply first mascara on my eyelashes, as so, and then I would apply fake eyelashes because I don't have any eyelashes. Now, you don't just peel it off here and put it on top of your eyelash. I have eyelash glue. I have eyelash glue that I use to apply this. And then I would use mascara again to blend it and make it look like I don't have 2 layers of eyelashes. And after that, I'm finally done with my eye makeup, and I move on to essentially the easiest part of the routine, lipstick. Or lip gloss, or lip liner, whichever one you prefer, and you literally just color in your lips. And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. That is how I do my intermediate level makeup. Of course, you can add in more steps or add in less steps as you see fit. A lot of people like to do what's known as color correcting. You see here next to the brown and blue shades, you have green and purple. So color correcting is a technique that essentially you use the color wheel to correct any blemishes you may have on your face. For example, green you would use to essentially erase all the red marks on your face. I don't use color correcting personally because I'm not that good at it, but I have it just in case I find someone who is good at it and I ask them to help me out. So does anyone have any questions? Yes?
Are these both your to-go bags of makeup that you take with you all the time?
This is my everyday makeup bag, and then I use these two cases here on special occasions. Anyone else have any questions? Yes, please?
What's wrong with not having makeup on? I feel like the conception of makeup makes a person prettier is like such a big thing. What's the idea of makeup in your perception?
So, I'm going to answer this as concise as I can for the sake of time. Beauty is essentially like, if you're beautiful, you're more youthful looking, and genetically, biologically, the more youthful you are, the more like attractive you are to whatever mate, whichever sex you prefer, and it all like has to deal with, to be blunt, mating and finding your partner in life and then reproducing to increase our population. But yeah, that's my 2 cents on it. Well, thank you for coming to my lecture. I apologize for being late, but better late than never.
Thanks for coming in so calmly, giving a great speech. So take a couple of seconds here and fill out any feedback that you have for Preciosa. I'm glad we managed to get both speeches in today and change up the format of our meeting a little bit.